In this video, I am ranking every Pokemon anime series starting from the very beginning of the original anime in 1997 to the latest series of Pokemon Journeys. Over the years, we have seen it all when it comes to Ash Ketchum and his adventures throughout each region, and it was quite tough to rank every series because they were all good in their own way. I just think there are some that are a bit better than others. So for this video, I will start with my least favorite series and end with my favorite, so let's begin with the last place. Number 7. Advanced Generation. Before I dive into this, I just want to say that none of these series are necessarily bad, but you gotta pick the ones with the best features. And Advanced Generation as a whole was solid, but it lacks an actual main rival. This is one of the most important fundamentals in each anime that we don't really see here, besides a few reoccurring characters and May. I guess you can count May as an Ash rival because she was his contest rival, but still, we need someone to challenge Ash other than Max. And that brings me to another reason the series isn't last. Max. Max was a bit annoying at parts. Don't get me wrong, I think he improves as a character later in the series, especially if you count the Jirachi Wishmaker movie. Yet the times when he acts all tough and thinks he's better than Ash is just insulting at this point, and Pokemon kept bringing it up. Like, we get it, Max is very arrogant. Jeez, you don't have to remind us every other episode. Speaking of episodes, this series had lots of fillers, and you're gonna notice that the lower ranking series on this list are mostly gonna be here because of their filler. Advanced Generation had their fair share of filler content, and it wasn't very good, a lot of dull episodes that led to nothing. Yet there were some good things about AJ I liked, and that is Sceptile being a true Chad. I love to hate on Torkoal, always a good time. The league was pretty solid, Brock was Brock, the introduction to Pokemon contests were cool, and May was cool. Yeah, I think Brock and May definitely helped the series be more enjoyable and memorable, but overall there are just better options in series to choose from, in my opinion. And honestly, I respect people who love this series, since they find the great parts that I can't. Probably because this is the series I spent the least time watching. Number 6. Black and White. Now I know what you're thinking. How is he putting Black and White not in last? This can't be possible. Well, for me personally, I actually like Black and White. Of course, there is a lot I don't like about this series, which I'll get to in just a second, but I feel that the series isn't all that bad as everyone portrays it as. Maybe it's because I'm not an OG Pokemon fan, but anyway, let's get into the bad. I hated how they treated Ash in the series, and I think we can all agree on that. I mean, come on, they made him lose to a level 5 Snivy and forget all prior knowledge he had from his past journeys. They even made Ash confirmed to still be 10, so technically Black and White was the reason Ash is 10 years old today. Because if Pokemon never announce his age, he can theoretically be any age we want him to be. Another L, but other than that, I thought the series was actually pretty decent. Yeah, Trip as a rival sucked, but hey, at least we had a rival. Okay, maybe it's best we didn't. Well, yes, Trip was pretty bad, I'll give you that, but he did challenge Ash a few times, and at least he was there and did something in the series, even if it pissed the fans off. Iris, I didn't find all that horrible. Yes, she can be annoying, but I enjoyed her development into a Dragon Master. Journeys definitely helped, but besides that, she did have her moments to shine. Silent was meh. I didn't hate him, he was a great comic relief character, definitely not as good as Brock though, but who can be, right? I think all Silent needed was a more fleshed out goal. It would have added a lot of value to his character. I, for one, loved Ash's Pokemon from Pignite to the big bad Crocodile to Levani, Snivy, my favorite starter of all time, and how can we forget Oshawott? Gooey, how could you like Ash's Pokemon when he's got so many? True, but from the amount he had, I enjoyed the quality ones I mentioned, and the others were okay. But hey, I like when Ash catches tons of Pokemon, makes it more fun for the viewer. I know there are loads more people complain about this series, like Team Rocket, the League, which means Ash losing to 5 Pokemon. Okay, yeah, I agree, that one was pretty stupid, but the other stuff I can get by. I love the return of Cynthia and Dawn towards the end of Ash's time in Unova. I know this doesn't count, but the Victini movie was one of my favorite movies back then, so that may play a little role in my bias. Number 5. Pokemon Journeys. I'm sure quite a few of you guys want this to be higher on the list, but the rest of the series I absolutely love, and although I think Journeys is a good series, it has some flaws. The battles in Journeys were some of, if not the best in any series, but the quality of episodes was so inconsistent in Journeys it almost felt hard to watch. What I mean by this is the filler, which, to put it simply, is very boring. No action, no story, just plain filler. To give an example of how bad it got, we had one episode, I forgot which one, where it was just a race between turtle Pokemon, and it wasn't funny or entertaining. Like, if I were to describe the episode to you, it would literally be turtle Pokemon come together and race. That's it. Keep in mind that they put that in for Ash's last series of the show. We could have gotten a world coronation battle, which is another flaw in Journeys. Like, why were 60% of the world coronation battles not shown in the anime? Trust me, they had plenty of episodes to put them in, but Pokemon chose to save their animation budget until the very end, I guess, because they skipped over many battles. Why even put that system in the first place if you're gonna skip over it most of the time? And it's weird since we got to see loads of battles at the start of Journeys, but from episode 30 through 80 it felt like a wasteland all of a sudden. And don't get me started on Chloe. In short, she was a character with a lot of potential that Pokemon ended up going nowhere with. Although I thought Go was alright. Ash was great as always. His only problem is him being hella overpowered. Still think Leon should have won the championships, but Pikachu is just too goated. And yeah, the battles were spectacular to watch, and if it weren't for Journeys having been Ash's last series and the battles being so great, this would have probably been my favorite series. And if they removed most of the filler and gave Chloe actual development, then this would have been one of my favorite series of all time. Which is why Pokemon Journeys for me lands somewhere in the middle of the road. Number 4, the original series. For anyone who is wondering, because I know I'm gonna get someone in the comments asking me this, the original series includes Kanto plus Orange Islands plus Johto, so I'll rank all those in one big mega series. I think having OG seasons of the anime in 4th is great because it's definitely not the worst and probably not the best. I know a lot of people say the original series is the greatest because they have been watching the series since it came out, and the reason it's their favorite most of the time is due to that good old nostalgia, and I don't blame them. But I also wouldn't mainly rely on that to determine which series was the best. Again, why it's 4th place. I love the original series. I think it's by far one of the most creative and unique times the Pokemon anime has ever been in. I love pretty much every episode, even the fillers were good. Definitely the most entertaining fillers to watch out of all the other seasons. And we got some really cool lore out of the original series, like electric type moves being able to damage ground types. Boy, wish the anime was still this goofy. Yet even with all that, there are plenty of flaws the series had that have to be brought up. I mean, although I love the fillers, Johto was like 70% filler and even Kanto had a lot too. Didn't help that we got Orange Islands just to postpone Johto because it was still being built. Team Rocket interrupting the leagues were very annoying and interrupted the episodes. Glad they learned from that in future leagues. And lastly, the overall plot wasn't as impactful as the last 3 series on this list. Yeah, so the last 3 series on this list are pretty much all good. I can put these in any order and still be happy, but if I had to choose my favorites, this is what they are. Number 3. Diamond and Pearl. Goated series, from the small things like the Riolo side arc with Hunter J to the big things like Ash vs. Paul in the finals of the Sinnoh League. This series had the best rivals, hands down. Paul gave Ash the most development he could ever get, Barry was hilarious, Tobias was a hacker, and Conway, you know, is Conway. Had perhaps the best companion of all time, Dawn, had contests that were actually fun to watch, not as good as Ash's gym battles, but helped us get attached to her character. Brock was great too. Ash had an awesome team, Infernape was cool, Weasel was a bit overrated, but still great, Gliscor was clutch, Staraptor was swift, and Torterra was pretty decent. I mean, there are so many things the series did right, even for the massive amount of episodes it had, which is probably my least favorite thing about Diamond and Pearl if I'm gonna be honest. The story of Ash getting Chimchar and that whole plot with Paul was amazing. I'd say the series had some of the best story and character writing ever, rivaling only one other series. I honestly don't have anything bad to talk about because this series flowed perfectly with new episodes being good, and knowing where you are in the series. You know, in just a few episodes, Ash will fight his next gym. That's another great example of pacing in Diamond and Pearl. We got a big episode like every 3 to 5 episodes. Now that may not seem all that amazing, but trust me, for Pokemon, a big event happening often in the show is insane. And I mean, come on, it takes place in Sinnoh. Who doesn't like the Sinnoh region? You guys are probably wondering, where is Sun and Moon? Like, he must have already rated it. There's no way it makes it this high. Number 2. Sun and Moon. Way too underrated of a series. Sun and Moon doesn't get much love. It deserves so much more. I was so close to ranking this at number 1, so close. However, I can't lie, even though I love Sun and Moon, it also came with a few flaws. The biggest being that there weren't a ton of Pokemon battles compared to Ash's past journeys, mostly due to the laid-back culture of the Sun and Moon anime. For me, this wasn't a big issue because I enjoyed laid-back Ash, who was figuring out himself rather than running around to the next gym battle. You know, cause Alola doesn't have gym battles. Instead, they have Island Kahunas, which help challenge Ash in slightly different ways than he's used to. The companions and rivals in the series were great too. Even if there were a lot of companions, I enjoyed them all. Some were better than others, of course. Then there's Professor Kukui, Ash's dad basically. He was an awesome new addition to the Pokemon anime. What really made this series stand out for me was the atmosphere and vibe. Like, I know a lot of people who hate Sun and Moon and have never watched the entire show from start to finish. Usually it's because they don't enjoy the art style switch, but once you get used to that, which is like after maybe 10 episodes, you can actually enjoy the relaxing atmosphere and interesting story between Lily and her family, Ash and Kukui, and all the other companions. There's just something about it taking place in a tropical climate that made me fall in love with not only Alola, but also the fillers. I'm gonna be honest, the fillers weren't even all that bad this time around. Plus, we can't forget about how amazing Team Rocket was in this series, but where it created some of the funniest scenes in Pokemon. Not to mention, this was the series Ash won its first league, making him the first official Alolan champion. There's just something truly remarkable about the Sun and Moon anime that I can't put into words. Number 1. XY and XYZ. Yep, these are the best seasons of the anime, period. Come on. Ash Greninja, Serena, Ash acting like he's 15 instead of 10, Gudra, XY has it all, and XYZ has it all and more. Where do I begin? Okay, first off, Mega Evolution in the anime led to some of the coolest battles of all time, plus the 3D camera adds so many opportunities to get great angles and fight scenes, it's spectacular to watch. Ash did not feel like 10 in XY, he felt slightly older with a more wise yet sharp characteristic about him that makes him 10 times cooler. Even the way he's dressed in the series makes him look older, plus in the first few episodes we literally see him jumping off a skyscraper to save a Pokemon. XY on top of that has the best companion combination out of any other series. Clement was the funniest companion, only beaten by Brock, and Bonnie was surprisingly entertaining at times. Bonnie is also interesting because we got to experience what it's like for a young kid to grow up in Pokemon. We got this with Max too, but Bonnie had lots more thought put into her development. Yes, and we can't forget everyone's favorite Serena. If you want to talk about any character in Pokemon who has the best development apart from Ash, it's Serena. We got to see her transform from a nobody with no purpose to a somebody who finds and works hard alongside her friends to reach her new dream of becoming a Pokemon contest champion. Serena even had a thing with Ash, which was kind of funny and weird at the same time, I can't lie, but it adds drama to the series, ultimately making it more entertaining of a season to watch. I know I briefly mentioned this already, but the battles were incredible, and the Pokemon to make this even greater was Ash Greninja Boy, whose idea was it to give Ash his own unique form in a Pokemon, because it's genius. I love him or hate him, the Ash Greninja transformation scenes were some of the hardest scenes in Pokemon. The only thing I kind of hated was Team Rocket. For some reason they were pretty bland in XY. But hey, Team Flare and Alon definitely made up for the lack of bad guy activities, because I love that arc with Zygarde and Lysander dying at the very end. Great times. Alon and Sawyer were also some of the best rivals in Pokemon. Both are from Kalos 2. Gosh, the series was so great. I mean, come on. It has Gudra. That's an automatic winner right there. What did you guys think about the best series of Pokemon? And since you made it this far, consider subscribing. Bye.